is Rasmus Lerdorf. Well, I work for Etsy in Brooklyn, in New York, but I live in California, so much of my activities is on airplanes, traveling back and forth between California and New York, and going to conferences and giving talks like this in various countries. When I'm home, I like playing with my son. I have a 12-year-old son named Carl. So that basically takes up all of my time. Well, I've been doing open source for the last 20 years now, I guess, and it's just the way I do things. It's the way that's efficient. It's a good way of developing software. Nice and collaborative. Lots of people who have the same problem get together and solve the problem together, and it just makes sense to me. It's kind of a strange question for me because it's the only thing I know, really. I mean, it's how I've always done things. I've always opened up everything I've done. Part of it is because I'm lazy. It's easier to get help. When you open source your application, lots of people are very willing to help out. If you're doing closed source software, you have to hire people, you have to pay them to write software. This way I don't have to pay anybody, they help me for free. So it's a great model for me. Well, for the same reasons that I just talked about, right? It's the only way for it to grow, really. If I was to do everything myself, PHP wouldn't have happened. And by open sourcing it, I got a lot of smarter people than myself involved in the project. And they were very enthusiastic because it solved the problem at the right time. Right as the web was growing, I started PHP, and PHP grew right alongside the web. If I hadn't made it open source, there were many non-open source solutions to the web problem back in 1993-94, and all of those proprietary solutions died. None of them are around today. PHP, because of its open source license, is still around today because it built a community behind it, and it was the only sane way of doing things. Well, I mean, it's been going well for the last 20 years or so. I don't see it changing. The number of programmers coming out of schools is growing. Back when I started this stuff, there weren't that many people doing web development. It was kind of a strange thing. The programmers would look at it and say, this is not real programming, this is web stuff, this is never going to catch on. This web thing is not serious. Today, the web is very, very serious. And collaborative programming via GitHub and other collaborative tools like that, it's just the way you do things. Most companies these days are open sourcing many of their proprietary tools as well, or in-house tools, and they're open sourcing them and putting them on GitHub and other sites like that in order to basically provide, well, part of it is to do some promotion of their companies themselves, of course, but also it's usually not their primary business. Writing software is not the primary business for many of these companies. So by open sourcing it, they give a little bit back to the community, but they also encourage people to understand their tools. And so you hire somebody, they come into the company, and they can immediately get going. At Etsy, for example, we've open sourced a whole bunch of our tools, which means that when engineers join our company, they already know most of the tools that we use in-house because they've downloaded them, they've used them themselves. So to me, I think open source initiatives from most companies is the future. It's the only way for the companies to really grow and to develop a comfortable culture for programmers within the company. Well, to me, it's another company that is slowly realizing that the open source movement can be beneficial. It doesn't have to be sort of one versus the other. It doesn't have to be a fight between open source and proprietary software. We can work together. And Microsoft has been open sourcing things for a while now, actually. I'd like to see more, of course. I'd love to see them get more involved in lots of projects. They've been very involved with the PHP project for many years now, which has been great for the project. So it's not a new thing from Microsoft, but I love the fact that they're making it more official and they're promoting it more. In previous years, it has been kind of behind the scenes that they've been helping out in the open source movement. Now they're coming out of it more, and that's a good thing. And to get into PHP development, just start. I mean, PHP is very, very easy. The barrier of entry is very, very low. It's free, download it. On Windows, there are very easily installable packages. There's something called WAMP, and that will install a web server, a database, PHP, everything that you need to get started. It's very, very simple to get going. And then in order to be part of the community, you can just basically go to the website, and one place you can go is the bug database. You can help us by filing good bugs. You can also help us by helping us fix bugs. You can join the documentation team. We have the documentation for PHP translated in 13 or 14 languages. It's a Spanish translation, obviously, and you can join the Spanish documentation team. That gets you involved in the community as well, even if you're not a super strong programmer yet. We've had many people start on the documentation team and then get stronger and stronger and stronger and then join the development team. So there are many ways of being involved in PHP as a developer or as part of the community that provides PHP. Like I said, you can join the bugs, you can go to the bugs database and help out there. You can also provide help to other people using PHP. There are IRC channels. There's a PHP channel on Freenode, the IRC network. You can help people there. You can join the documentation team. You can write RFCs for new features. If you want to be involved with the sort of the low-level development of PHP, you can write what we call an RFC, request for comments, which is a document that describes the feature you're interested in. And then we discuss it, and eventually, if there's interest, we vote on it, and it might go into the next version of PHP. It's a very open and transparent project. Anybody can join. We have a mailing list called Internals. Anybody is free to join and start discussing features. It's mostly in English, but that is the one barrier of entry that people have told me. It's like, well, everything is in English, but it happens to be the only language that is common enough for everybody to join, because we have people from all over the world in the PHP project. We have about 2,000 people now with a CVS account or a Git account now, and they're all discussing things on the mailing lists and on the various sites out there. So it's very easy to get involved. One of my pet peeves in the past couple of years have been, we're a bunch of smart people. We can build very complicated systems. We can build very, very interesting solutions to problems. What I would like to see, though, is that we choose better problems to solve. We have been building things that don't matter. We have been building very strange sites. And I don't want to name too many companies because they get upset at me when I name them, but I would say that 90% of all the websites could disappear tomorrow and the world would not be a worse place. I would like to see more things out there that make the world a better place for people. And that's a bit disappointing to me when I see not just developers, but also venture capitalists funding businesses that just won't make the world a better place. And there's a lot of money to be made, I think, from making the world a better place, from bringing the internet to people who don't have access, bringing it to rural Mexico, bringing it to rural Africa, places like that where we could really make a difference in people's lives. That's what I would like to see us focusing more on. And I don't think it means that we can't make money doing this stuff. Where is Facebook going to get their next billion users? everybody who has an internet connection has a Facebook account today. Their next billion users is going to come from all the people in the world who don't have internet. So there's a lot of money to be made by opening up the internet to people who don't have access. And it's not an easy problem, obviously, but that's what I would like to see us as a community work towards.
Right.
Well, for startups, same thing. Build something that matters. Build something that in 20 years will have changed the world. There are a lot of startups these days that aren't building anything that will change the world. It'll change their lives because they might make a lot of money selling their company to Facebook or to Google. But does it really matter? And I think we should have a little bit of a conscience. We have so many tools and we have so many advantages that we should put that to good use and do something that matters. No, I think my preaching to the community about doing something more is enough. Sometimes people get a little bit upset when I preach like this and I tell them that the things they're doing don't matter. And I realize that. And it also, when I say that, I don't mean that everyone should go feed the hungry people in Africa. Things that matter might be very local. It might be in your local community. It might be just things that don't work for people who live close to you, or even things that are even more local than that. Things that matter to one person is different than things that matter to another person. I just think that everyone should look a little bit and see, okay, is what I'm doing right now, is it useful? Is it something that matters? And if everyone does that, I think we could make a lot of difference in the world.